Hello and welcome to today's tutorial, which is on the making of this beautiful Ankara kimono infused with ashoke, and in particular ashoke fringe pockets. Now, if you're new to my channel, thank you for tuning in. If you're a returning subscriber, thank you for coming back. Without further ado, let's get cutting. On the cutting table, these are the fabric pieces that I'm going to be making use of. I have Ankara fabric and of course a bundle of ashoke. But before we cut out, we have to make some calculations because I'll be making use of ashoke, okay, to complete my measurements. Now the full length of this kimono is 48 inches. I have to take out the width of the ashoke that we're working with. So the wideness of this ashoke is 6.5 inches. So I have to take that out from my full length. So in total, I'll be cutting out 41.5 inches plus 1.5 inches for stitching allowance. So in total, 43 inches will be my full length. Now for the wideness of this fabric, how I will have it unfold, the width of this, I need to get the nape of my neck to my sleeve length is 25 inches. I also have to take out the wideness of the Ankara from this 25 inches, and then I'll be left with 18.5 inches, and then I'll be adding 1 inch for stitching allowance. So in all, I'll be cutting out 19.5 inches on fold for the wideness of this. So I'll cut that out right away behind the camera, and then we'll get right into the next one. So I have that cut out now. The wideness of this is 19.5 inches, and then the length of this is my 43 inches. So first off, I'm going to be taking my neck width, which is 3 inches, and then the neck depth for the back is 1 1/4. The neck depth for the front is 9 inches. And then I'll be coming down 1.5 inches for my shoulder slope, and then I'll be connecting this to my neck width. Please note that on fold I have this in two pieces because I'll be cutting for both the front and the back at the same time. Now I'm going to connect the neckline for the back, and then at this 9 inches depth that I came down by for the front, I'm going to be going in by 2 inches, and I'll be replacing this with ashoke piece. Okay, so I'm going to take 2 inches all the way to the full length of my fabric. So 2 inches down there, and then I'll just connect this into a straight line, and then I'll also connect it to my neck width at the top here. So once we're done with this, I can now proceed to cutting this out. So first of all, I'll cut out the neck width for the back, and please note that this is for both the front and the back. And then I'm cutting out the shoulder slope. Don't forget, I already added my stitching allowance of 1.5 inches to this, and then I'll just take out one piece from underneath. So this, the one I took out, will serve as my back piece, and then this will be my front piece that I'll be working on. And then I'm just going to cut out these 2 inches that I came out in by, because I'll be replacing this with my ashoke piece. And then I'm done doing this. So I'm going to be adding lining to this fabric. So I'll do that off camera. I'll add cut out lining for this, okay, for both the front and the back, and then I will join the front and the back together and stitch them down at the shoulder using 1/2 inch, and then we can work on the next step. Now, after attaching my lining and then joining at the shoulder line, the next thing to do is to get the length of the collar piece. So measure out what you have from one point here all the way around the neckline and all the way around to the other side. And then I already have this cut out off camera, and then this is my ashoke piece. What I'm going to do is fold it, yeah, have it unfold this way, and then at the edge take in 1/2 inch here, 1/2 inch here, and then give this a good press before we can attach it to the collar of the dress. Now for the sleeve area, measure out the length of what you have here, okay, and then multiply it by 2, and of course you attach it also. You do that for one side, and then you do that for the other side. Now I'm done attaching the sleeve, and this is what I have. As you can see, the finishing is quite neat. and this is how I stitch it. I just placed it on top. And then for the collar, this is how I stitched it as well, so it minimizes any weaving or whatever. And then this is how I hemmed it as well. Now we'll also be attaching our ashoke piece to the bottom of this kimono. So what I'm going to do now is measure out what I have from here to here and at the back and also on this side of the front, and then you cut this out as on your ashoke piece. So I already have this cut out. So one piece for the front here, and then the other piece for the front here, and then this longer piece for the back. I'm going to attach it the same way I attached for both sides of my sleeves, and then we can proceed to working on the pockets. So I'm done attaching the bottom part. As you can see, neat finishing, very much important. And then the next thing to do is to get our pocket. So I actually had to sew two ashoke strips together to give me the width that I needed. The wideness of this is 9 inches, and then the length of this is 12 inches. I've hemmed the top, and then at the point of 8 inches, I kind of like ran multiple stitches because that's where I want my pockets to end. Now for the fringe effect of this, I'm just going to cut out this very bulky part of my ashoke. I'm going to cut it off on both the left and the right. So doing this will make sure that will help me loosen the ashoke, okay, to give that fringe effect. So it's important that you cut this part off. I didn't cut off the middle part before joining. It's going to give me a little bit of an issue, but then I'll know how to work around it. So I'm using my picker now to unthread the ashoke piece. So as you can see, so you just keep unthreading. As you can see, you shouldn't have any issues whatsoever. So you just keep doing this until you get to the length of where you've measured out where you want the fringe to end. If you look closely, you can see like a very obvious stitch line at, a few inches above. So that's where I want my actual pocket to stop at. So the length of this fringe is about 4 inches. So as you can see, that's where I made my stitch, and I double stitched back stitch there. Now, after getting the desired length of your fringe, for me, I'm coming down by about 20 inches, and that's where I'm going to be placing my pockets. I'm just going to place it this way, run a stitch from here, run another stitch all the way here, and take the stitch up. So I'll do that for this side, and I'll do that for the other side, and then I'll come down 10.5 inches from my shoulder slope to create my sleeve opening and run a stitch all the way down to the end of the kimono. I'll do that on both sides and give this a good press. And guys, this is the final look of our kimono with ashoke fringe pockets. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Please don't forget to share, like, and subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so that you get updated when I post new videos. Now, till my next video, thank you and bye.